What's going on, guys? Bringing a new trade sim video today. Looking at the blockbuster deal that went down yesterday with Erik Karlsson being traded to the Pittsburgh Penguins in a 3-team deal. As you guys can see there, Jeff Petry actually went to Montreal Canadiens. They were the third team part of this deal at 25% retained, along with Casey DeSmith, Nathan Legare, and a second-round pick. Pittsburgh, of course, gets Karlsson at $1.5 million retained, so he's making an even $10 million. They also get Hamiluk there, a third, and Pitlick from Montreal. Finally, the Sharks get Mike Hoffman from Montreal, along with Granlund and Rutta from Pittsburgh, and a first-round pick that can't be a top 10 pick. So, early reaction to this, guys, I think the Pittsburgh Penguins made out great here. They actually somehow ended up with more cap space after adding Erik Karlsson than before. So I really feel like Dubas pulled off an amazing trade here. And now because Montreal didn't get anything from the Sharks in this deal, we can basically just say the Penguins first made the trade with the Canadiens, then made the trade for Karlsson with the Sharks. So from the Montreal Canadiens, they get back both Mike Hoffman and Rem Pitlick. Now Hoffman immediately gets flipped to the Sharks to just, of course, shed the salary cap. Also, I think to help make sure the Sharks hit the salary cap minimum. I'm looking for him here. Obviously doesn't have a ton of value, 32 years old, 81 overall, making $4.5 million. I would say at this point in his career, he's a decent middle six winger. Still has a pretty good shot on him. Unfortunately, though, he's making too much money at $4.5 million. And then Rem Pitlick here, who I think we actually might have passed. He's like a decent bomb six player. I would say he's like an okay third liner, a good fourth liner. And now in return here, guys, Montreal Canadiens get Jeff Petry, who actually just joined the Penguins this last season. So I think before that, he played like 7 seasons with the Montreal Canadiens, where he actually had his best hockey. Obviously, he's getting older now at 34 years old, but if he can even play, a little bit better, I think, could help some of the younger guys on that team. On top of that, they get Casey DeSmith, which I really don't get from their perspective. Pittsburgh here has an Oljevic who can be the backup. Hellberg there is like a decent AHL goalie. You can call him up if either of the two NHL goalies get injured. But Montreal's already got 2 solid NHL goalies in Allen and Montembeault. They've also got Kane Primo in the AHL, so I really don't know where DeSmith fits in. And the Penguins are also giving up an okay prospect here, Nathan Legare, 21 years old, 69 overall, medium to high potential, former third-round pick 2019. I feel like, he's nothing crazy. One cool thing is he's actually from Montreal, so he gets to go to his hometown team now. And hopefully for him, he can actually eventually make the NHL squad and play at the Bell Center. And finally here, guys, we have the Penguins give up a 2025 second-round pick. So, looking at the value here, it's way on the Penguins side. I feel like Montreal should say yes to this. Should mention, too, as always, the trade difficulty is set to medium. Here we go. And yeah, trade's going through as we expected. And now next year, guys, are trying to trade the Penguins made the Sharks for Karlsson. Obviously, Karlsson's a great offensive defenseman. He just won the Norris Trophy this year, even though he's a minus 25 due to how many points he put up. He was also playing on a pretty crappy Sharks team. Basically, was the sole driver of that offense. And I feel like that's another big reason why he won it. Doing that well in a pretty bad team. So in game, you guys can see here, Karlsson, 32 years old, 90 overall, making $11.5 million for 5 more years. Real life, it's 4 more. You guys see all the X factors there. 99 passing, 99 offensive awareness. Only 90 awareness, though, so still decent, but obviously the main part of his game is the offense. Has definitely slowed down a little bit, though, because of that injury, although I feel like this past season he showed us he's still got a lot in the tank. Never really physical guy. It hasn't really mattered for him much because he's just so skilled, such a good skater. Kind of makes up for that lack of physicality. Now with Erik Karlsson here, the Penguins also got back this prospect in Hamiluk, 2168 medium top 9. Honestly, not the greatest prospect. Former second-round pick, 2019. Was actually playing the ECHL a bit this year, so I feel like he's kind of just a guy that they added. And then as well, too, they get a third-round pick in 2026. Also, too, guys, we can't forget Erik Karlsson there has $1.5 million retained, bringing him right down to an even 10. And now, in return for Karlsson, guys, the main thing the Sharks get back is Pittsburgh's 2024 first-round pick. Again, it's top 10 protected, so they're hoping, ideally it's number 11. On top of that, though, it's basically just cap dumps. Like, Mikael Granlund here is still a decent player, but he wasn't really worth, the $5 million he was getting paid last season. Definitely didn't look as good in Pittsburgh as he did in Nashville, so some people were actually thinking they might buy him out. Instead, they're actually able to trade away his entire contract and bring back Erik Karlsson. So again, I honestly think this was a masterclass by Dubas. With him, too, they actually trade away Jan Rutta's contract. You can see there, he's just like an okay bomb-carrying defenseman. He was making almost $3 million for 2 more years. And of course, they actually flipped Mike Hoffman to the Sharks. Again, he's like a middle 6 guy, way overpaid. So the fact, they did all this, they also dumped Jeff Petry's contract to Montreal and Casey DeSmith. They get Erik Karlsson. They're actually up $3 million after the trade. That's absolutely unbelievable. Now, looking at this here, the value is pretty close. They don't have Karlsson on the block. They do want the pick, Granlund, Hoffman, medium difficulty. They're probably going to say no, especially because of salary retention, but we'll take a chance here. And yeah, trade's rejected. We'll try this without the retention because I think it'll still work. So just in terms of, straight values, EA thinks it's a fair trade for Karlsson. And they still reject it. So yeah, in-game there, EA feels like Pittsburgh won this one, the Sharks lost. And look at this, guys. They actually just forced the trade through with the Sharks. All I had to do was add a first-round pick on Pittsburgh's side. So the Sharks here in-game get 2 first-round picks in order to get Karlsson and also let them keep their third. I should mention too with the Penguins, like the fact they got Karlsson without having to give up any of their good prospects. I saw a bunch of rumors saying, you know, they'd have to include one of Owen Pickering, Samuel Poulin, Pierre-Olivier Joseph, Philip Hollander. That was not the case. They didn't give up any of their good prospects. So again, that's why I think this was such a good job by Dubas. And after that trade, guys, here's an update look at the Penguins lines. Even after losing Granlund, their forward group is still very solid. That top six there of Gensel, Crosby, Raquel, Rust, Malkin, and Smith, I would say is at least a top 10, top 6 in the NHL. Their bottom six there, even Eller, Carter, Hinostroza, Nieto, Achari, Pilek, looks pretty solid. Defensively here, they did lose both Petry and Rutta, but they brought in Erik Karlsson, so it looks pretty stacked. You got Grays, Letang top pair, Karlsson, Pearson on the second. That could actually end up being their top pair. With Joseph and Ruhwedel on the bottom, like that defense is scary. In terms of the goaltending there, you got Jari starting, Iljovic backing him up. I mean, just look at their power play one, guys. You got Crosby, Gensel, Malkin, Karlsson. Who cares who they choose for their fifth guy? That is absolutely stacked. And now next, you guys, I'll give you your first look at Erik Karlsson as a member of the Pittsburgh Penguins in NHL 23. So there you go, Karlsson wearing number 65 for the Penguins. Honestly, I feel like it looks pretty good. And next, you guys, I'm trying the first half of this trade from Montreal's perspective. Again, look at this. They dump Hoffman's contract. They give up Rem Pitlick. They bring in Petry, DeSmith, Legare a second. I'm sure they could probably flip DeSmith for a pick if he actually ends up playing for them and doing well. Petry there, they could also trade in the future. Real life, he's only got 2 years left. Now, as I mentioned, Petry does have 25% retained on this trade, but in this game, like, the retention for anything more than a deadline deal just really screws with the trade logic. So we're going to try, you know, Petry's contract there at full. Still, though, does not look like it's going to go through as the trade value is so far on the Penguin side. And yeah, trade's rejected. Even though they wanted Pitlick and Hoffman, they say no. And so I forced through the trade, guys. Here's what Montreal's team will look like afterwards. You got Caulfield, Suzuki, Doc in the first line, which isn't bad, obviously, but a young gun line. Newhook, of course, they got from the Avalanche for a couple picks. Playing with Dvorak there, Anderson, Gallagher, Evans, Slavkovsky, hopefully healthy all season. Harvey Pinard kind of had a coming out party last year. We'll see how he does this year. Playing with Monahan, who they brought back, Armia. Defensively now, they look a little bit better. You know, Matheson and Petry's there. Obviously, they traded Petry for Matheson last season. I think it'd be really funny if they actually had the two of them play together. Savard there playing with Goulet on the second. Harris, Kovacevic on the bottom pair. Goaltending-wise, as I mentioned, they already have Allen Montembeault, but you've also got DeSmith now. Jack guy there, you know, could take a step potentially. They've been NHL regulars. So a lot to look forward to, I think, for the Canadiens. Again, I think they made out really good in this trade. Really didn't give up much, and they got some nice assets back. Also, too, guys, I made this sick jersey swap for Jeff Petry. I feel like you can't even tell it's Photoshop. It's that good. All right, guys, so now next year we're trying the second half of that trade from the Sharks' perspective. Again, Karlsson, we're not going to retain, making him a $10 million player. Also giving up Hamiluk there in a third. They get back Hoffman from Montreal through Pittsburgh, Granlund, Rutta, 2024 first. The value is pretty equal. I feel like the Penguins got to say yes here to get Erik Karlsson, but you never know. Trade accepted. Okay, yeah, Penguins quite happy with that trade. And so after that trade, guys, here's what the Sharks line is going to look like for next year. Obviously, they're pretty busy in the summer. They traded for Anthony Duclair. They just got back Mikael Granlund. I got them both playing that first line with Hurdle. They just got back Mike Hoffman, so it's kind of funny. Like, I've got half their top six being newly acquired players. Kind of showed you just how bad that Sharks depth was. Zadina, of course, they signed after, you know, he mutually parted ways with the Red Wings. I got Bordelot making an NHL team. I feel like he's got a really good chance this year. LeBank's in that third line, fourth line, Zetterlund, Sturm, Lindblom. Any of those guys can be playing even higher in the lineup. Now, defensively, this is where the team's very, very weak. I mean, Ferraro, Benning, Rutta, Vlasic, Simek, and Kinzov. I don't know. Like, is it the worst defense in the NHL? Probably not, but it's definitely close. Goaltending as well, Blackwood, Kakinen. I think a couple guys with a lot to prove. Not the greatest goalies. Gonna be an interesting team to watch for sure. And probably gonna be a bottom 5 team in the NHL this year. So it does suck. They only got back a first round pick for Karlsson, but at least they're able to trade away almost his entire contract, giving them a lot more cap flexibility now. But as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, guys, I really think this was a masterclass by Dubas. Obviously, Crosby and Malkin aren't getting any younger. You bring in the reigning Norris Trophy winner Erik Karlsson, who led all defensemen in points last season. You put him on that power play, which is just absolutely deadly. You're basically going all out here to try and win one more Stanley Cup with that core of Crosby, Malkin, Letang, and now Karlsson. I feel like they probably got 2 to 3 years to do it. Then after that, they're going to have to blow up the team anyways. So you might as well, you know, put all your chips on the table, go all in right now, give yourself the best chance to win a cup, and then after that, you figure it out later. Again, love the trade for Pittsburgh. I feel like Montreal also made out really well here, and then even for San Jose, it wasn't like the worst trade ever. So all in all, for a 3-way deal, pretty fair for the most part. But I'd love to hear from you guys in the comment section below. Which of the 3 teams you guys think made out the best? And as always, guys, if you did enjoy this one, leave that thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure that's up button. Thanks so much for watching. Have a nice day. Goodbye.